So he says, for such a high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needs not daily as those high priests to offer up a sacrifice, first for his own sins and for them of the people's. For this he did once when he offered up himself. He did it once, and that was all that was required. That finished the blood atonement. Okay. All right, next slide. So we see here that the discussion concerns the Torah of sacrifice. This is what's going on in Hebrews 7, the Torah of sacrifice, the offering of sacrifices, which were never of Yahweh's Torah, but of the Torah of Moshe for a priestly regimen. Take a look. Now, here's what it says in Hebrews. It says, for the Torah makes men high priests which have infirmity, but by the word of the oath, which was since the Torah, the Son is consecrated forevermore. Okay, this is such an important part. When I say that it didn't appear in Yahweh's Torah, I'm not the only one who said it, right? But you also have Jeremiah saying it, and he said it in Jeremiah. He said it in Jeremiah 7:21. In Jeremiah 7:21, you have this discussion that is absolutely critical to understanding what I'm saying here, because I'm not the only one that said this. Jeremiah said it, okay? And I'll read it to you here just one second. Jeremiah 7:21 goes like this. Thus says Yahweh Sebaot, the Elohai of Yasharel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices and eat the flesh. Do it. For I spoke not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing I commanded them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your Elohim, and ye shall be my people. Now, so when he says, obey my voice, and I will be your Elohim, and you shall be my people, and walk ye in the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. He says, obey my voice. What voice did they hear, and what did he speak to them when they heard his voice? It was the 10 Devarim. That's what he spoke to them. That's what Deuteronomy 5 tells us. He spoke these 10 Devarim, then wrote them on sapphire stones and presented them to Moshe. That's what he spoke to the people, those 10 Devarim. And he says, and go and look at those 10 Devarim. You know, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not break wedlock, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, and thou shalt, sacrifice 100,000 bulls when you open up the second temple. It doesn't say that. There's no sacrifice commanded in those 10 Devarim anywhere. There is no sacrifice commanded in those 10 Devarim anywhere. And he says, I told you to obey my voice. And if you obey my voice, then I will be your Elohim, and you will be my people. What's going to happen is we're going to get a real problem. And again, if you read the sense of James, you'll see that because Israel continued the blood sacrifices, the wrath came upon them. Now, when you go back and you look at what happened with Abraham, Abraham was told, take your son up to Mount Moriah. And he gets up to Mount Moriah, and Isaac says, well, I see, Dad, that you got the wood and you got the knife and you got all that other stuff, but where's the sacrifice? And Abraham looks at Yitzchak and he says, Yah will provide himself a lamb. Yah will provide himself a lamb, right? Very prophetic statement, because ultimately the son that would die, ultimately the son that would be sacrificed would not be Yitzchak, who was not a sinless individual, but the Ben Elohim and the Ben Adam would be the one who is sacrificed. And so you see that Abraham then, after the angel says, Abraham, do not touch the boy. This thing is done. Do not touch the boy. Let him get up, go home. Then Abraham says, hey, look, there's a ram in the thicket. Let's kill it, right? And so you have this idea that there was this bloodlust. We got to kill something. I came here to kill something. Let's kill that ram. This bloodlust continues. And when Solomon dedicated the first temple, right, at a feast he called Hanukkah, dedication, when he dedicated the first temple, he slaughtered 10,000 bulls. I want you to think what a herd looks like of 10,000 cattle. Now, how many acres does that take up? And he slaughtered 10,000 bulls at the opening of that temple. I mean, there had to be blood everywhere. Everywhere there had to be blood. And, I don't think that offering was correct. I don't think it was. And I think Yah was greatly displeased by that kind of blood. And you see Isaiah saying the same thing. He says, your new moons, your Sabbaths, your feast days, all that stuff, I've had it with all of it. Why? Because your hands are full of blood. Because you can't do it without blood sacrifice. But there was only one blood ever intended, which was Vayikra 17:11, Leviticus 17:11. He and I will provide the blood on the altar for the atonement, for his blood in your soul is atonement. Yahshua's blood, you see? And so, okay, now what happens? The northern kingdom is divorced, right? Jeremiah 3, the northern kingdom is divorced. And then he goes on to say, Judah is even worse than her sister Israel. Judah is even worse. And ultimately what you see is that first temple is destroyed and the second temple is destroyed. The second temple was destroyed in 70 AD. So it's been 1950 years since the second temple was destroyed. 1950 years, no blood offering because there's no temple. And, arguably they were sacrificing in the wrong place anyway, but you've got no temple, so no blood offering. Now, did that happen because the Jews got together and said, well, we want to get the blood offering going again? No, it's because Yah never provided them a place. Now, this last year, blood sacrifice, the Sanhedrin, they put up this fake altar and they do a blood sacrifice. They didn't burn it over proper wood. They burned it over particle board. They did this fake sacrifice. But you see, what happens is Jeremiah is going to tell us, look, the covenant that was given to us by Yah, this covenant of the 10 Devarim that he spoke to us in his voice, he's going to do something with that covenant. And this is Jeremiah 31:31, one of the most beautiful passages, I think, in the Old Testament. It's certainly one of my favorites. And it is quoted verbatim in the book of Hebrews, right? In Hebrews 8:8. So here it is. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will cut a renewed covenant with the house of Yasharel and with the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I cut with their fathers in the day that I took them out of the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, says Yahweh. You see this? So here he says, behold, the days come that I am going to cut a covenant with you. Now, the Hebrew, if we go to this next slide here, you'll see the Hebrew here. And I want to go through some of this Hebrew so we can see it, okay? So the first word here, and again, remember this, let's see, how is that appearing in your slide, your screen? Okay, so it looks like, yeah, it should be reading right to left, right? Right to left. So the first word, hine, right? Behold, hine, behold. Hine yomim, the days, yomim, right? Yom day, yomim's day. Boyim, coming or comings. Neum, behold, the days are coming when Yahweh vekarati et Beit Yasharel, they at Beit Yehuda, that he's going to give to Beit Yasharel, the house of Yasharel, and Beit Yehuda. See, there's two houses there. See, now the guys in the Messianic community can say there's only one house, but it's very clear in this passage right here, one of the most important passages of all, talking about a Brit Chadashah, a new covenant, that he's talking about two houses, the house of Yasharel, the northern kingdom, and the house of Yehuda, the southern kingdom, right? Behold, he says, I'm going to give to the house of Yasharel and the house of Yehuda the Brit Chadashah, the word that actually appeared there, those last two words in Hebrew, in Ivrit, Brit, Beit Resh Yod Tav, Brit Chadashah, Het Dalet Shin He, Brit Chadashah, okay? And again, when we talk about the Brit Chadashah means not new per se, but renewed. Something, yeah, it's new, like a new moon. We have a new moon, but is that the first time the moon's ever been seen? No, it's a new moon, just like it was last month, the new moon, just like it was the month before, a new moon, when in reality, it's really a renewed moon, renewed moon, right?